Good evening, friends. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Shekhar Iyer. Welcome, Shekhar.
Thank you. Thank you, Miraji, for having me on your show. Thank you.
So, a little brief about Shekhar ji. Shekhar Iyer is a very highly reputed senior journalist, a former senior associate editor of Hindustan Times and political editor of Deccan Herald, and has appeared across leading mainstream news channels as well as leading YouTube channels. So, it's really nice to have you with us, Shekhar ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Miraji. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start with the first piece of news. China on August 30th defended issuing a new standard map for 2023, which India protested against, saying it was a routine practice and asked New Delhi to refrain from over-interpreting it. India on Tuesday lodged a strong protest of the new map that was released on Monday and showed within China's borders all of the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh, Aksai Chin, as well as the entire South China Sea. While these territories were also displayed in previous Chinese maps, the new publication was seen by New Delhi as an unnecessary move that will only further complicate already tense relationships, particularly over the border issue. China on August 30 defended issuing a new standard map for 2023 that India has protested, saying it was a routine practice and asked New Delhi to refrain from over interpreting it. What would you say about this, Shekharji?
Well, China is telling India not to overinterpret, but the Chinese seem to be absolutely confused. I mean, what is the way forward? In Johannesburg, we heard that Chinese wanted a formal meeting between Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi. But India made it very clear without some concrete forward movement, there's no point having a formal round of discussion. So let's have an informal kind of a hello, hello. And that's what happened. Chinese finally realized that otherwise the meeting would not take place. So they had an informal one on one, and in which it was made very clear by the Prime Minister Modi to the Chinese side, look, let's get the talks that are going on to resolve the border issue at a faster pace,
Hmm.
because right now there are 1 lakh soldiers on either side on the eastern Ladakh on an eyeball to eyeball contact. Uh, and it has been very clear, I mean, rather made very clear to the Chinese side, look, India is not going to compromise on territorial integrity. And no matter what it takes, we have already seen after what happened in eastern Ladakh, the way India has amassed its troops, machines, aircraft, tanks. It's very clear that if China is trying to browbeat us with this kind of incursions or show military power, India will respond adequately.
Yeah.
But at the same time, China also feels that this is not the way forward to resolve this issue.
Hmm.
Just a few days ago, we had a co-commanders conference at the army level,
Hmm.
where it was decided, though there was not no forward movement as such, but it was decided they'll keep talking.
Yeah.
So the India has made it very clear: if you want to talk, let it do it faster. Let us resolve it. There is a historical background to this border problem, and but at the same time, Miraji, if you look at the way China, not just with India, with almost every country with which it has a problem, now and then it keeps start flexing muscles, but to no end, because increasingly I can see China getting into a spot of isolation.
Yeah.
China has problems with everybody, Japan, the ASEAN countries, the South China Sea case, even with Vietnam. It has problems, with almost everybody,
Yeah.
excepting perhaps Russia, which where China is seen as more of an ally of the Russia. But as our foreign minister Jaishankar ji made it very clear, just because you print maps and you make some claims, I mean those are not going to be taken seriously by anybody. And at a time that India, America, Australia, Japan have already formed a quad. See, on one hand, there is a BRICS summit where Russia, China, they all feel that they need to also unite with other developing countries to be some kind of a to prevent Western domination.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have these problems, and China has
Mhm.
also realized that if you keep doing this kind of what I would say,
Pressure
drama on
tactics.
the border.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to affect bilateral relations
Mhm.
also. China lost out on 5G
Mm.
contracts, and every deal that is happening or anything, it's being scrutinized from the security point of view.
Yeah.
So if the China wants trade to move forward, already it has a huge balance of payments in its favor because the
Yeah.
imports are larger volume compared to imports. So it's all clear. But it is China has to decide because as far as the Indian response is concerned, it's quite clear. No
Mm,
matter what the politics part of it is being played out by Congress, particularly Rahul Gandhi.
mm.
I mean, they think that this is great moment to show Modi in poor light, keep raking up that issue, and even time it. There is an element of timing, which is also very unfortunate. I mean, there are a number of issues for Congress to take on BJP. There are a number of issues. But why on this issue of China? And after all, Congress cannot forget its own legacy, right from Jawaharlal Nehru's days. But then
Yes.
they keep doing it and they think, I don't know why there are several senior leaders in the Congress party who by now must have realized that this kind of forgetting as if you were never in power and as if you were just born and all these things has happened in the last 9 years of BJP.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
this is you are not scoring. I mean, forget brownie points. You're not scoring any points.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah.
Rajan.
Yeah. And now, after the success of Chandrayaan 3, after having planted its feet firmly on the moon, the ISRO is now headed towards the sun. The Aditya L1 mission, ISRO's first to study the sun, begins its journey later this week. It is the first time that ISRO is sending out back to back space exploration missions. But it was not designed to be this way. Aditya L1 mission has been in the works for more than 15 years now. The ISRO has started preparing for it around the time it was giving shape to Chandrayaan 1 mission in 2008. Aditya L1 would have always followed the Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan series of orbiters, whose success was essential to validate a number of technologies that could be used in future, more ambitious space missions. The development of subsystems and instruments, many of them very different from what can be put on a moon mission, for example, also took time. But now that it has come, it appears there could have not been a better time for its launch. A mission to study the sun seems like a logical follow up to the success of the moon landing. But unlike the rush to the moon, there have been very few missions to the sun. There are inherent difficulties in going anywhere near the sun. The Aditya L1 mission, for example, would be stationed at a place that is just 1% of the distance of the sun from the Earth. That is one of the most favored locations to study the sun. The missions like the Solar Orbiter of the European Space Agency have ventured much closer to the sun. As of now, studying the sun is a purely scientific endeavor, unlike the current round of moon missions, which are focused on exploring opportunities for resource utilization and extraction and facilities for longer term stays. Shekharji, see, there's been a lot of different kind of reactions from the West ever since Chandrayaan 3 landed, and people have also, see, once Modi ji named it the spot as Shiva Shakti. People have now come up with a lot of names for different craters, saying that, see, this is named after this person, Galileo, blah blah blah. What is happening? Why is the West getting so perturbed about Chandrayaan landing in the moon?
No, that's for a simple reason. The big boys don't want a new member whom
Yeah.
they have to force to admit. That's
Yes. Yes.
basically thing. And space technology, like nuclear technology, has always been an area where they have never wanted to share
Mm.
because the nuclear thing they said it would cause a proliferation, and they didn't allow sharing of technology until we had Pokhran 1 under Indira Gandhi and Pokhran 2 under Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Then after that, sanctions were imposed on us. We went through a very difficult period. But then they have realized that India is indeed a country with very peaceful disposition towards one and all. That has a lot to do with our tradition, with the spiritual inclination that this country has seen all along. And when we say Vasudeva Kudumbaka, we do not say it as some kind of a, for the sake of saying it or
Yeah.
sound
Yeah.
or to impress others. We
Mm.
mean it.
Mm.
I mean, an average Indian would hardly harbor any kind of enmity towards anybody. I mean,
Yes.
that's a normal, we are all peaceful disposition. But nevertheless, we needed a deterrent.
Mm.
That's why you had Pokhran 2.
Mm.
And since then, you have realized that nobody tries to mess up with us or try to, you know, uh, threaten that they would use nuclear weapons against us. None of them, not even
Mm.
China, nobody, because they know that we will respond adequately. And late former President Abdul Kalam, he said a very important quote, which I keep, that keeps coming to my mind, which he said, India never had a deterrence for the last 5,000 years. That's the reason why you were always invaded.
Mm.
And this, when Pokhran 2 happened, he played a key role in that. And he said, look, this was needed. Unless you show you're powerful, you're capable,
Yeah.
then only people respect you.
Yes.
And same thing has happened with space technology
Mm.
because of the kind of indigenous work that has gone in. And that has gone on in a manner and spirit which is again a very Indian kind of thing. Keep at it, because those who are working in ISRO today, Binaji, are
Mm.
people who could have, with their kind of background and capability, they could have easily got a job in NASA, like
Yes. Yes.
many of our fellow men have done. They
Mm.
are, I mean, no, and they could have got into big corporates in America,
Mm.
because now space is into a private mission there.
Yes.
But they kept working at it because they felt pride of their work.
Mm.
They knew there would be light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what has happened today. And government, the ISRO has received a lot of encouragement in the last 9 years. That's a point. I mean, it was always under the prime minister, under any government,
Mm.
but its budget went up by 23 times
Mm.
since 2014. But you can imagine, with that kind of support, that the rocket technology, the space technology, has a lot of other applications, both in terms of launching of satellites for reconnaissance, surveillance, which has a defense fallout also, or a defense use, and similarly the capability to launch rockets, capability to put satellites in orbit. That also gives you the capability to launch missiles of the intercontinental kind.
Yeah.
So you can see the importance of space technology. That's why there is a reluctance. I mean, you saw the way the Western media responded to Chandrayaan landing, particularly in
Yes.
south pole of the moon, and you would have seen the responses. I mean, accepting the fact that India has done something unique.
Yes.
But there was a unsaid reluctance, because they realized that's where you had that silly comment by a British journalist saying that we should stop foreign aid to UK.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a needless self goal, because it is UK which terms this money that they spend in India as aid.
Mm.
Rather, that money is actually to further the British
Yeah.
commercial interest or British political interest in India,
Yeah.
rather than by way of aid. I mean, that has been made clear to them earlier also. That's the reason why Britain even wound up its aid outfit here.
Yeah.
That the overseas aid was virtually wound up from here. So the point that I would like to say is, whether it is Sun mission or going to be Mars mission or Gaganyaan, when we
Mm.
intend to see that one of our fellow men is on space station, international space station. All these efforts are directed at seeing that we gain knowledge as much as possible in our own way, and all the same time collaborate where necessary
With
with
others.
other
Yes.
international missions, and the whatever spin-off that comes, the research and the innovation principles that we gain, that are shared with the private industry, because our private industry has also played a part in Chandrayaan 3.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important spin-off, I would say.
Mm.
So the Sun project, of course, let's not look for a dramatic headline from this Aditya project,
Yeah.
because this is going to go on, and
Yeah.
whatever we learn about the sun, because
Mm.
as far as we know, it's a burning gases, and it's the nearest star to the earth. So there are so much things to know about our sun. Of course, in our tradition, we see sun as source of all life on this earth.
Yes.
The sun worship is among one of the
Yes.
what I
Most
should
important.
say ancient
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah. First thing we
tradition
do
we have
every
seen.
morning. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a lot to know, and this research, Miraji, you will realize that it rather blends with what we have received as historically, in terms of our heritage, our tradition,
Absolutely.
our spiritual knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. And also, one thing we can be really very proud about is the number of women scientists, who are responsible for the success of Chandrayaan 3.
Indeed, Miraji, when Prime Minister went there to ISRO straight from Athens after he completed his official visit to Greece, of course, he greeted all the scientists. He was very happy, and they were also very happy to receive him. He had a separate meeting with, I'm told,
Women.
not less than 200 women scientists.
Yes.
Till then, we were not even aware that there were
Yeah.
so many of them working.
Absolutely.
We often talk of the glass ceiling,
Yes.
but ISRO has truly broken the glass ceiling. You have mission heads, your
Yes.
project team heads who are
Yeah.
all women, which
Mm.
goes to show that the traditional way of looking at science, engineering as something of a male domain, and
And all wearing
humanities and other things.
saris and bindis.
I think that myth has long been broken. Today, you
Yeah.
find extremely talented people, and and they bring into their work what normally is associated with women, which is uh, you know they are the tenacity of purpose and hard work, dedication despite the responsibilities at home. I mean, these are awesome qualities that we see in an average woman in India, and that is reflected in the people who are heading, and not just the space. Minaji, I hear a lot of people are involved in this infrastructure development, head of companies,
Absolutely.
management teams. A lot is happening. A lot is happening, which does make us feel very elated to the
Yeah.
fact that when we see girl children doing very well, taking up challenges, and you have our women on the armed forces, and recently there was a story they went around the world in a yacht.
Yeah.
So there's so many things are happening,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
keeps it's these stories are stories for inspiration for the coming generation,
Yeah.
and where you realize that gender is no barrier,
Yeah.
absolutely no barrier, and you have a government that is encouraging them and is also acknowledging their contribution. That's a very big thing that's happening now.
Yeah. Also, on a lighter note, Shekharji, see, it's always been seen that see women wearing Western attire and coming on mainstream channels, give a more professional aura to news. But now it's been proved by these scientists that you don't need to dress in Western attire. You can wear your bindi, you can flaunt your most beautiful Kanjivaram sari, and say that you're a scientist who's achieved Chandrayaan 3.
Yeah, of course, the Indian attire is reserved for Republic Day or August 15th, or
as
or
a
or
as an
when
editor,
Chandrayaan landed. No, I saw a number of anchors wearing Indian attire on the day
yes,
Chandrayaan
yes,
landed on moon. So, well, we agree. Of course, there's one of convenience to Minaji.
yes,
People
absolutely,
do find
absolutely. Yeah,
wearing Indian
yeah, it's
sari. I
much
mean,
more. Yeah, yeah.
not so
There are
convenient
different
if you
ways
have to
to.
commute, if you have to take a
Yes,
public transport and
absolutely.
things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next point, Shekharji, is that see, with the with the envy that's surrounded in Chandrayaan 3, these countries also blame India for not achieving the desired victory in Ukraine-Russian war because India is helping Russia by buying their oil. While the import of LNG gas is increased by 45% from Russia, how are we going to balance our relationship with the West and Russia? In fact, NATO wants Rahul Gandhi to be in power, and they want Modi to be, to come down. And also they're angry because of India. They blame India for not achieving the desired victory in the Ukraine-Russian war, and because India is helping Russia by buying their oil. So
Well, Meena,
how are we going to balance the relationship with the West and Russia?
well, Meenaji, India has made it very clear to the Western countries that it doesn't support the escalation of conflict in Ukraine. In fact, India volunteered and has also been playing a part to resolve the conflict there. You just saw there was a conference in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia
Yeah,
where more than 40 countries had gathered, uh, and that was at the request of the Ukraine President Zelensky to put pressure on Russia to bring about a ceasefire, and several formulas were being under discussions. And our foreign minister even traveled to Moscow, to Washington, to London, to Paris, and Ukraine has been figuring in it. But at the same time, we had made it very clear that given our kind of financial situation and how we are recovering from COVID, that it will not be possible for us to do what the West does.
yeah.
Because America is self sufficient in oil.
Mm.
It is Europe which is in trouble because they are heavily dependent on Russian gas.
Yes,
Now you have seen that way Germany has been facing problems, other countries are facing problems. Of course, America is trying to step up supplies to them. But for us, it is a difficult situation, and I believe, whether it is United States or UK, these countries understand
yeah,
that India cannot be forced into a situation where it will hurt its own people. That
Yes.
is why we have seen the crude prices have not gone up, even internationally, for the similar reasons. And also that our we import more than 80% of our requirement. We are
Yeah.
trying to maintain a balance. Now, can Rahul Gandhi, as a if he were to be in power, would he take a different look? I mean, this is such a hypothetical situation. I do not think NATO or any Western country is betting on Rahul Gandhi.
Mm.
Well, there are forces in the West which feels that Rahul Gandhi can be useful tool. So you can say that some of these organizations, I would not even call them, government. Any government is behind them, but definitely there are people who provide platform where the government of India is criticized, Prime Minister Modi is criticized, and then you make out as if or the timing is such when if Prime Minister Modi is meeting President Jinping, then you see statements coming on Eastern Ladakh just a day before this is going to happen. Now, this is all. I mean, I do not know whether Congress is actually politically benefiting from it, and the constant talk of democracy being danger.
Mm.
There are Western organizations who are very upset with the crackdown on the so-called NGOs in India. Then these are the reasons why
Yeah.
they have an agenda. I mean, one can understand that, but this is not going to basically change on certain policy objectives of our government.
Yeah.
So they can think what they want, and they can bet on any horse they want. But we know the political situation here and what is happening, and the kind of 9 years that we have seen, and particularly the post-COVID recovery that you are witnessing in our economy. This all goes to show, even a matter like Ukraine.
Mm.
See, it has been repeatedly told to
Mm.
Russia also.
Mm.
Look, this conflict is not the way forward. War is not an answer.
Mm.
Of course, G20 is going to take place on September 8th and 9th. I mean, 9th and 10th, and you're going, but we are told President Putin may not be coming. Even there are doubts about President Xi Jinping coming, because I think Russia probably feels it's going to be cornered on the Ukraine issue.
Mm.
G20 may adopt a statement which may not be to its liking. But at
Mm.
the same time, the efforts will continue to see that, because at least Russia may be represented by its foreign minister.
Yeah.
So these are issues on which India is closely working with all countries. I repeat,
Mm.
all countries, to see that we can bring about some kind of a peace, if not permanent settlement, to the issues that has you know uh, put Ukraine and Russia on the loggerheads.
Yeah. Moving to Chennai, Annamalai is creating a wave in Tamil Nadu. He seems to be having the integrity of Kamraj and popularity of MGR. Do you think BJP will be able to penetrate into Tamil Nadu?
Miraji, BJP is on a long-term mission in Tamil Nadu. I can, because I have been covering this party as a journalist. I had covered this party right from the days they did not even have a member of parliament.
Mm.
Then two members. Then down to the growth that you are seeing in BJP today.
Mm.
Always their approach is to ensure that to keep working at it
Yeah.
and to start and keep moving. And
Mm.
that's what is happening in Tamil Nadu. Start from
Mm.
zero.
Mm.
Basically, Annamalai's mission is to give a message that what the BJP stands for,
Mm.
that BJP is not what its rivals are portraying it.
Yeah.
One second. What Annamalai has been working in Tamil Nadu, bringing a lot of hope and inspiration to the young cadres of the party. Not just the cadres, even the other people are watching,
Yeah.
because they have seen the rule under DMK, they have seen rule under ADMK, because this is a DMK which doesn't have Kalaignar Karunanidhi as head. It's not an ADMK under Jayalalitha. These are new
Yeah.
set of leaders. And what Kannamala is doing is trying to break the myth and misconception about BJP.
Yeah.
By his Padayatra, he is
Mm.
trying to convey what does the BJP stand for? What is the concept of nation first?
Yeah.
What does it mean ushering in a governance model which the Prime Minister Modi has shown?
Yeah.
How the lives of people can change, and
Yeah.
also what is happening in the center under Prime Minister Modi, the flagship program,
Mm.
Jan Dhan Yojana,
Mm.
Prime Minister Awas Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar mein Nal and Har Nal mein Jal. these missions, which is to ensure piped water supply to homes, conveying the message that what the BJP stands for, because the constant attempt of the Dravidian parties, particularly the DMK, has been to show that this is a party dominated by upper caste North
Mm.
Indians. It's a party that is trying to impose Hindi. That's a party that is trying to, give importance to Sanskrit at the cost of Tamil. I mean, this campaign has been going on for the last so many years. It is to break that campaign. Now,
Okay.
will this give immediate result in the Lok Sabha elections?
Mm.
That's not exactly the objective. The objective is to increasingly make people aware that
Yeah.
here is an alternative.
Systematically, yes.
Yeah, that is why you are seeing the
Yeah.
traction he is getting, and
Mm.
you compared it with Kamrajar.
Yeah.
That's I think a very perfect comparison, because if anybody has done lot for the backward classes, for the
Yeah.
education of the backward classes, it is Kamrajar,
Yes.
and he is still highly regarded. And Kamrajar was honest to the core.
Yes.
There are innumerable stories about Kamrajar, about his honesty, about his
Yeah.
candid approach to administration.
Yeah.
Rajiv.
Yeah. What are BJP's chances of winning Rajasthan elections and Lok Sabha elections next year? What are your thoughts?
Well, the elections are going to take place November, December this year. Well, the scenario is it's a tough battle. I
Mm.
mean, that is not something BJP is going to take lightly, these elections. In Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan will be completing 4 years.
Yes.
And this is, if you have
Yeah,
had
huge.
somebody for 20
Yes.
years, there is
Yeah.
a fatigue involved.
Mm.
So obviously, the BJP has to fight the anti-incumbencies issues
Mm.
arising out of that fatigue factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the legislators, ministers, people have seen it. And last election also, if you see 2018, Congress won more. I mean, Congress won more seats than the BJP.
Mm.
Then there was a revolt in the BJP by supporters of Jyotiraditya Scindia, and they came out.
Mm.
They resigned their seats. They joined the BJP.
Mm.
Now this time also, the Congress is very confident under Kamal Nath.
Yeah.
Because Kamal Nath is a person who doesn't face any dearth of resources. So Congress is on in a very strong footing. But at the same time, the welfare schemes undertaken by Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who belongs to the OBC section, his leadership and his connect with the people, those are also factors. So you can see that Madhya Pradesh is a highly challenging scenario for
Yeah.
the BJP. Chhattisgarh similarly is also challenging because they suffered very badly the last elections. And there again, the fatigue factor worked because Raman Singh was chief minister for 15 years.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's also a tough fight there. Now,
Yeah.
Rajasthan is a very interesting battle because Ashok Gehlot has had virtual rebellion in his party under Sachin Pilot. Now, some patch-up has been effected by Rahul Gandhi for the assembly elections. Probably Sachin has been promised this time, like he was promised last time. This
Yeah.
time, you will be made chief minister if Congress wins. Probably that can be the only thing. But at the same time, there are issues involving the ministers. Fatigue factor is there. But what may work for Ashok Gehlot is some of the welfare schemes.
Yeah.
Welfare schemes that have been undertaken by the Ashok Gehlot government. Some of them have, brought desired results on the ground. So
Yeah.
that's a factor working for the Congress.
Mm.
Now, in the BJP, they are constantly asking what will be the role of Vasundhara Raje.
Mm.
Will she be given full charge? Will the party
Mm.
lead the election? They have had problems with Vasundhara Raje because there are leaders who do not like the style of functioning of Vasundhara Raje when
Mm.
she was chief minister. But
Yes.
the matter is very clear that Vasundhara Raje knows, BJP knows, they cannot do without each other.
Yeah.
Vasundhara Raje on alone, she cannot vote a party or do something. That is amply clear.
Mm.
And even the Rajasthan leaders know that Vasundhara Raje has a huge appeal among women voters. So therefore, I think the process is being on, and central leaders, Amit Shah, Prime Minister Modi himself, they are monitoring the situation. So one will see a BJP put a good fight.
Mm.
And in Rajasthan, the tendency is not to vote for the same party again.
Again.
It always alternates.
Yeah.
So one can see that BJP will find Rajasthan is a more a hopeful situation, whereas Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh are tough, and
Mm.
BJP will have to use all its resources, all its strategy against the Congress.
Yeah. How do you see the DKS Siddaramaiah government going in Karnataka?
Well, I think finally they are launching their schemes. Yesterday you had all your papers in Bengaluru flashed with those pictures of Lakshmi Hebalkar, handing over that scheme of paying to the women a monthly dole that they are going to pay us. Of course, the problem is these promises were made not by Siddaramaiah. Siddaramaiah has presented several budgets. He knows the pitfalls of populist schemes.
Mm.
And that is why when they came to power, you saw DK Shivakumar going so candid saying that this 1 year we can't do any developmental work, much to the shock of everyone. And then you had another situation where the MLAs, Congress MLAs, who have spent a lot of money from
Mm.
getting the ticket to getting elected.
Yes.
So they were complaining that ministers are not doing our work. Ministers are demanding a cut, when we take any work proposals. Then they had to hold CLP meetings.
Yeah, yeah,
They had to have meetings in Delhi. They were told, keep your mouth shut till the Lok Sabha elections. Well, till the Lok Sabha elections, Meeraji, everybody will be trying to, but once the Lok Sabha election, because they want to win
yeah.
a maximum number of Lok Sabha
Mm.
seats. But you have seen what happened in 2019.
Yeah, yeah,
In 2018, I mean, the opposition somehow they came together. You had Kumaraswamy, a chief
yeah,
minister, a reluctant Siddaramaiah being forced to support it, then later toppling it by asking his men to leave the party and join the BJP. We
yeah,
have seen all that. So, but I think in Karnataka, when it comes to parliamentary elections, people tend to favor the BJP, particularly the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Will it be different this time? I do not think so, for a simple reason. The current Congress leadership has not managed to, because this election in Karnataka has a lot more to do with the style of campaigning adopted by Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar,
yeah,
and the successful manner in which Congress used the social media.
yeah,
So these are the reasons. So till Lok Sabha elections, probably there will be truce. But after that, I do not know, because recently DK Shivakumar, uh, created scare by saying there is a plot hatching in Singapore to topple the government. And then he said he had not discussed it with Siddaramaiah. Siddaramaiah said, I do not know about any plot, ask
yeah,
Shivakumar. And and then, very interestingly, Miraji, we have seen HD Kumaraswamy is very active. He
yes.
carries around the pen drive, which he says, which has the rate list of rate list of charges.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean, the bribes that would be
yeah,
required to be paid for specific tasks for transfer promotion. So it's a very interesting, and though it looks very funny, but it
mm,
is lot to do with the reality of the
yeah,
perception among people. The return of the Congress is not a complete cessation to the campaign that we saw. That
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
40% Sarkara, this, that. Sarkara is Sarkara, I think.
yeah, absolutely. And what are the chances of Modi ji coming back again? 2024.
Meenaji, is there any doubt? Because 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 we have had several surveys coming.
Mm.
You had Pew Center, you had Sea Water. Yes, people who have been very enthused by those findings, they say, look, the opposition is growing from nowhere to there are 194 seats. I mean, but look at the other side, it's showing. Even if the BJP seats were to dip,
Mm.
it's still showing 300 plus,
Yeah,
the India Alliance. For the simple reason, Meenaji, you know, if people are looking for alternative, they'll have to see what is the alternative
yeah,
and what is the capacity of the alternative leadership.
yes,
And if they have to be so upset with the current dispensation,
mm,
it has to be a situation like 1977.
yeah,
People were so upset with Indira Gandhi, were upset with Sanjay Gandhi, that
mm,
whole clique, that they decided let it be anybody. But just because opposition leaders feel anybody but Modi, and they don't have a roadmap. Today they are meeting in Mumbai,
mm,
and we are told even this meeting will not discuss the prime ministerial phase. This meeting will not discuss concrete seat sharing. All this meeting will do is list the issues on which a narrative should be built. We are already being, sufficiently warned not to have high expectations of
yeah,
what is to come from Mumbai, from
mm,
this meeting of this alliance.
mm,
They think, by giving themselves a new acronym,
mm,
I dot N dot D dot I dot A, and so that everybody will say it is India versus Modi.
yeah, yeah,
But I do not, because there are problems. You see, Sharad Pawar,
yeah,
the difficulties before Sharad Pawar is
yeah,
NCP he says there is not even split. Some of my colleagues who had different point of view, they are sitting with BJP in power. I mean, these are statements that is worrying the Congress more,
Yeah, absolutely.
because these are difficulties. I'm
Mm,
not saying it is going to be easy election for Modi.
mm,
9 years or 10 years, they do present a lot of issues, anti-incumbencies, expectation, promises fulfilled. But then there are also a large section that are benefited from these schemes.
yeah.
No, we often talk of a new constituency called Labhartis or
Mm,
beneficiaries.
mm,
And these are the people who would want the government to come back under Prime Minister Modi.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Shekharji, for this wonderful session with you. And we'd love to see you again in the coming weeks. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you very much.